Just hours from now, the German Chancellor, Olaf Scholz, will kick off a fight for his future. Scholz faces a vote of confidence in Parliament, one that he is widely expected to lose. And if he does, voters will be going to the polls in a general election on February the 23rd next year. For almost 3 years, Scholz has been dealing with divisions inside his three-party coalition government made up of centre-left, environmentalist and pro-business lawmakers. That coalition collapsed last month.
It was never going to be easy, but few could have predicted just how bad it would get. The traffic light coalition is history, and the stage is set for snap elections. But how did we get here? The government faced challenges from the start. Barely 2 months in, Russia's invasion of Ukraine forced a massive about-turn in German defence policy.
Wir erleben eine Zeitenwende.
We're living through a watershed era, and that means that the world afterwards will no longer be the same as the world before.
Energy policy needed a rethink too, after Germany's reliance on Russia, specifically for cheap gas, was laid bare. Add to the mix an economy disrupted by COVID-19, with the public deeply impacted by inflation and a cost of living crisis. The outlook was bleak. And that's before the cracks began to show in the coalition. It all came to a head when the FDP rebelled over the budget. Late-night crisis talks at the Chancellery led to FDP Finance Minister Christian Lindner getting the sack.
I was forced into this decision in order to prevent damage to our country. We need a government capable of taking action, that has the power to make the right decisions for our country.
He
has long downplayed the economic concerns of Germans. These days, Olaf Scholz is still calling into question the decisions needed for people to be proud of Germany again.
This breakup had been in the works for quite a while. It later emerged that the FDP had a paper outlining just how they hope to orchestrate their coalition exit. Now the electioneering begins in earnest. Voters' main concerns are the economy and immigration, amid a rise in support for the far right and populist parties. Olaf Scholz will be on the ballot again as Chancellor candidate. Hot on his heels, the man most likely to get his job, the opposition Conservative leader Friedrich Merz. A busy winter of campaigning lies ahead, with just a few weeks for the candidates to make their case.
And DW's chief political editor, Michaela Küfner, is following today's events in the Bundestag for us. Michaela, put this confidence vote into context for us, because it's not something that's happened often in post-war German politics, has it?
Well, it's the 6th time that this is happening now, and all but one time when Helmut Kohl asked for a vote of confidence, it was the Social Democrat Party of the current Chancellor, Olaf Scholz, who did this, always with the aim to strengthen their own government. And it's the first time that this is actually used in the sense it was initially designed, which is to draw the consequences from a failed government, a failed coalition that no longer has a majority, and to avoid instability within the parliamentary system. That's why that is the method of choice here for Olaf Scholz, to even the way for fresh elections, which we expect to take place in February.
So if things do go as expected and Germany's parliament does declare it has no confidence in Scholz, where do we go from here?
We would expect Olaf Scholz to seek an appointment with the German president, who usually has a largely ceremonial role, but which becomes pivotal, though, particularly in these moments that create potential instability. And we expect Frank-Walter Steinmeier, the president, to then, within a short while, he has 21 days to do this, but we expect this very, very shortly, afterwards to declare fresh elections, to dissolve parliament, which sounds a bit misleading because the parliament is still able to take decisions. The government does stay in place, but what it cannot do is sign new treaties and really launch major policy. That is all then potentially subject to change once a new government with a new mandate comes in after these elections in February.
That's right. The election date is already set. What topics are likely to dominate the election campaign, so the campaign that's likely to start very soon and run till the election in February?
Yes, well, Germany has seen economic data pointing downward for some time now, so this is very much on people's minds. Migration is another topic. Notably, that's where Friedrich Merz, the leader of the opposition, CDU-CSU, who is currently doing best in the polls, just above 30%, that's where he and Olaf Scholz failed to reach some kind of agreement to take the issue of migration off the table, which of course is now getting new traction with events in Syria. Then we see Olaf Scholz's party promising more social spending, particularly when it comes to care here in Germany. There's quite the opposite sounds coming out of the Conservative bloc, who are launching their party program tomorrow, which we already have. And there we see the Conservative side more banking on tax breaks to revive the economy and to inject new dynamism. We see both sides accusing each other of not having done the maths and allegedly not knowing how to pay for all of this.
And Michaela, I have to ask you about the populist parties on the right and the left sides. They're gaining an influence in Germany. Can you briefly tell us what role they're likely to play in this coming election?
Well, there had been some speculation that they might want to capture this vote here today and then vote in favor of Olaf Scholz. They've announced they're not going to do that, at least while their own Chancellor candidate says they will vote against Olaf Scholz. And whatever place migration takes in this election campaign, that will be where the far-right AfD party has the most chances of expanding their base, which has been very large in recent regional elections that we saw, upward of 30%, but at the national level it's below 20%, around about 17, 18. So they do have a chance, because they're neck and neck with Olaf Scholz's own party, the Social Democrats, to potentially become the second largest party, but they have zero chance of becoming part of the government, with all other democratic parties saying they will not enter a coalition with them, and a coalition will definitely be needed, potentially again with three parties, which has proven a very rocky road over these past 3+ years.
Michaela Küfner, DW's chief political editor. Michaela, thank you so much for putting all of that into perspective for us.